last month Harold did a, wasn't it last month, Jacksonville? Mm-hmm. Harold did a basket illusion thing for the Jacksonville Club. Harold is the vice president of the Jacksonville Club, which is the Northeast Florida Woodturners. I'm a member too, I don't remember the name. I just call it the Jacksonville Club.
Jacksonville.
There you go. The Jacksonville Woodturners Club. Anyway, he did a basket illusion. I liked it. I've bent his arm around several times and begged him, and so that's what he's going to do tonight. And I'm very interested, so I'm going to plug it back and pay attention. It's yours.
I'm Harold Mills, and like you said, I'm a member of this club and another club, and one in Portland too. I like 3 clubs. I like wood clubs. So basket illusion, I did that a few years ago. I made some, and it was basically if you're turning something and you got too many bowls and your wife is yelling at you about bowls, you know what I mean? And you want to slow yourself down, basket of illusion will slow you down. Right. That's what it does. But it's very, very tedious and methodical, but it's fun. So let me get the projection. Okay, so a little history. There's like really 3 gentlemen in the world of basket of illusion, and the one that made it the most is David Nittman, which is Cindy Drozda's significant other. He passed away a few years ago. I think Don knew him well, and he really kind of popularized it, but he didn't invent it. There was a guy named Lincoln Seisman up in New Jersey, and he actually was the first one who came up with the concept. And then Harvey Myers is kind of really, I call him the prince of it. He is, if you see some of his work, he really does some out. He took basket of illusion to another level, and he doesn't demo much very far. He's up in Atlanta, but he does some awesome work. And in fact, when I got into it, it was in the COVID times, and I needed something to do because I wasn't going anywhere. And I contacted Harvey, and Harvey gave me some, I watched one of his YouTube videos. He gave me his presentation. He actually talked to me a couple of things. I had some questions. He was a very nice man. And in fact, I was having problems getting the thing to burn right. And he goes, "You have incomplete beads." I go, "What does that mean?" You know, so, and I will show you that too. And that is very important in this process. So he goes, "I'm feeling really good today. Look at this." And he sent me a link to a video on YouTube. And it was like 5 seconds earlier, he went down to his basement, fired up, and said, "Now this is the way you make beads." And he gave me a 10-15 minute private lesson on how to make beads. Awesome, just awesome. It's still there, by the way. I don't give it to anybody because he said nobody knows it's there. If you go to his YouTube site, there's 0 on it. All right, everything's hidden. So, all right. So what I'm going to pass around, first thing is this is a couple of pieces that I did. That one you have to be delicate with. It belongs to my daughter. She wants it back after this demonstration. And then they do good on platters. I found that they look better on vases. So let me see. Okay. So the real thing here is really trying to determine. What I found is really trying to determine your pattern. Okay. So if you start off just by turning a plate, putting a bunch of beads on it, then you've got to figure out how to put the beads back on there. So there is a chicken and egg thing where if you sit down first and say, I want X amount of beads, and now I've got X amount of things that I lay out, so I can get patterns that go around whatever pattern you're trying to shoot for. You have a better shot of doing it. It took me a long time to do that vase because I could never figure the pattern out. I knew better now. So let's see. So what you do is, I do graph paper. There's a couple of free graph papers you can make. I like the Black Cat. You can go ahead and enter the numbers and the grid, and you pop it out, and it'll pop you out a round disc of lines. Which then, what I do next is that pattern over there on the right. I did that this afternoon in about 30 minutes, oddly enough. I use Photoshop, which is basically I just paint the colors in. There's one called Ink Spot that's free, but it doesn't work quite as good as Photoshop is. So I just simply sit there on the computer and fill in the dots And if I don't like it, I click them and erase them back so you can play with them a little bit. And the whole idea is to get your pattern based on what you're going to turn. So what's the next one there? All right, beading tools. So there's a bunch of beading tools out there too. They're cheap. The one that I saw, the first one I bought was Benjamin's Best, and it'll work good for a while. It won't work good for very long, and it's very hard to sharpen. Easy Wood makes one. They just came out with one. It's pretty cool, but the problem again is how do you sharpen it? All right, and then Allison, they're an English company, and Sorby. They all make them, but they're just not really, not very friendly. So when I bought, and you have to buy all of these, an overhead. So I bought them one or two at a time. And when I started off, started off with this one, so I started off with an 8 and it's 3/16. So I bought those, and then I liked them. The other one I do like is, this is like what they call their diamond tool. It's very nice for cutting into. I've made them myself, 3-points. None of them seem to work as good as this one. And the sharpening is very easy because if you look at them, I don't know if you can see them or not. All right. These just ride right up on the wheel. So all you have to do is lay them on the wheel, bring them up and touch them, and they're sharp. And the groove goes back to here, so you've really got a big distance where the other ones, you don't have much room. But these will last quite a while. They'll probably last longer than I do. And it's the same way with this one. And all I do is just put it up, tap, 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 and they are like really, really sharp. You'll see. You can tell when they're not. You'll get the really hairy ribbons out when they're sharp. And then you can, then you just simply take your wheel, sharpen it up a little bit, and keep on going. I like to go back to my power reel, but I'm a power kind of guy. But in doing something like this, I can just stick it on here and sharpen it up with just a stone. All right? So those are the tools. The tool that I want to use is, okay? All right, what's that? All right. So make a platter. It's really making a bowl or a platter. It's really not that hard to do. You just grab a piece of wood. First thing you need to do is the face side, whichever side is going to be your face side. You pick that, and you're going to put something to hold it. All right. It's no different than a bowl. You could use a tenon. You could use a recess. You could use a screw chuck. It doesn't matter. You just need something here so you can create the back side. All right. And so you make blanks like that. To save the time, what I did is I went ahead and formed the back, because if you've seen a bowl, it's really not that hard to see. So the back goes along like this. And a little bit.
Harold, do you have a recommendation for the type of wood?
I do. Actually, it's not there, but it's okay. I'd pick a white wood. It's very hard to find. The less figure you have. This is maple. I had a piece of that in the garage. This is not so good. All right, it's okay. I got it as light as I could. It was great for practicing. But you see, because you have color with it, when you go to color it, all right, you get a little bit of an issue. The pieces that are going around are sycamore, and sycamore works pretty good. It's not quite as light. I think there's a couple of fruit woods out there that are just are plain and bright colors, and they work good to give you the basket, because then you can control the color. Yes, ma'am?
Have you ever tried bleaching it before you?
I thought about that. I thought about that. The problem is when you go back burning it and doing all the other stuff, then if you bleach it, you take the burns out.
But if you bleach it before the burn?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. So it's just like better off finding a light wood. Maple works pretty good. This is just a plain piece of maple. I got it at Echo Relic or something like that I was using. I made some stuff, and so I grabbed that one. It was easier, and it's light. Okay. So once you get the back turned, Okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to beat it. And the beating process is really not that hard, but there is a process. Okay? So, if I can turn this way. At light high speed. Okay? Let me get this. It wants to be back, and you want it to be just above center, okay, where I like to put it at, and you want it to be perpendicular to the surface, all right? If you're trying to turf something this way, you're not going to get a good bead out of it, so you have to be, don't be lazy, you know, get it to perpendicular. Then, what I like to do, is I like to come in about 1/4 of an inch or so and mark it off. What I am going to do with this one now, before I do that one, because I'm taking it off, I'm going to go ahead and shoot it back up a little bit. See if I can get it. Not too much here. Okay, and you can sand it if you want. You really don't have to because you're going to cut every inch of it or most of it with this anyway. So I sand it usually just because I'm anal, but that's just me. So you want to come over about 1/4 of an inch or so, and that should be your start line. So the way you do beads, is you come in and make your first bead. Okay, so now I've made a mark. Now you come back and you hook the left side, and you come over here and you mark your next one. And you hook the left side, and you mark the next one. The next one, thing is 4 or 5 beads in there. Okay. Now, what that does is that gives you a good spacing. If you just put a bead in all the way and try and do the next one, it's not going to look good. This will give you all even beads if you're faithful about it. The next thing you want to do is you're going to come with a pencil, and you want to put a pencil line on. Now, if you're Harvey Myers, you don't need to do that because you can make a full bead. And this is what he was trying to show me that you needed to do, was to make a fully formed bead. You'll be surprised, or maybe not, that if you try it without this, you will end up with a flat top. Doesn't sound like much now, but when you go to burn it, it means all the world, okay, in time. Because if the curve doesn't match the curve on my burner, you've got to burn down to get the burn across the top. So a complete bead is very important. If you're doing a bowl, you probably don't notice it, but you should, because why would you want a complete bead if you're making a bead? So next you come in here, you rock it back and forth. There. Now you can see it, not much light, but I stopped as soon as the pencil mark went away. That's the other help that it does. You don't want to go too deep. Yes, sir?
You're putting pencil mark across the outer surface, not just the grooves.
Sorry?
You're covering the whole outside with pencil, not just in the grooves.
Just the outside surface. And actually, I'm really trying to get the high mark is all I really care. You could run a pencil, and I've done that, where you just take a piece of lead and go across the entire piece, and that works. I just found that if I mark it first, I can see the marks better than with the pencil on there. And then I just come back with a pencil and just kind of hit it. And it doesn't matter any discoloration, because when I get to the point where I've got a fully formed bead, the pencil goes away. And as soon as it goes away, stop. So there's 2 things you do there. You notice before I hit that last beat, I went ahead and made me another mark. Move this around just a little bit. Like I said, don't be lazy. Move it around. If you get off skewed, it'll definitely run.
Harold, I notice you're not using the handle. Do you just find that easier for some reason?
Yeah. So what I do, the only one I use that moves them all is, and this handle is, you can't buy this handle, by the way. This is like $3.90, and they do it that way because $3.75, which you can buy everywhere. So I found this at a Florida Woodturners Symposium. I paid $5 for this, all right? And then I had a reamer that was a $3.90 reamer. I just put it on my drill and opened it up, and it is perfect for this. So for using this, I like the handle. For beating, you don't need it. I'm in tight and close. It's doing what it's doing. So
Is that just because you have
I have more,
movement?
I have more control
Yeah,
with the
more
short,
control.
you know, because if you're back here and you're going,
Yeah, look, the big movement is a.
yeah, big movement makes little movement, so this gets me in tight and close. So I, like I said, you'll notice if you see my box is a hand custom made Cohiba cigar box. They're awesome for putting tools in, by the way. So let's go finish it. Really don't want to rush this. I get rushed at it trying to do fast stuff. And when I slowed down, I did a much better job. That gets me about to where I want to be. And you can see it goes very quick, and this process is real quick. Now, the one thing I do to do is, so you can't probably see it on there, but if you look at the grooves in the middle, sometimes you get like a little, a double groove where the left bead hooks into the other bead, and it kind of just doesn't look real good. That's where this comes back in. So now you can just come back in here and barely lightly touch it. And you can take out any double beads that you have. Okay? And that's the one I saw. So now,
What is that tool that you just use?
oh, it's a diamond tool. They just, I forget what they call it. Yeah, it's their diamond tool. It's by D-Way. If you go to their site, it's listed with all their other beading tools. It's
Could you put it under the, yeah.
Back towards you a little bit.
right, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, it's listed with all their other beading tools, the whole set. If you bought the whole set, you don't want to pay yourself what you paid for it. But if you buy them a piece at a time, they're okay. They're all $55 a piece. They're stuck on a number. So, but it's okay. So, but this is actually, I use this a lot in, if I made a set of whiskey stoppers for a friend of mine that were emulating bagpipe. He was he's the chief bagpiper for the Northeast Florida Bagpipes, and he wanted me to make his drones for his whiskey. And I bought a bunch of little beading tools, and none of them were small enough. I made all the beads with this one. You can make beads with this one, like really, really, really teeny beads. Takes a little practice, but that's what I made of. Now that you've got it beaded up, what we need to do is we need to bind it. Okay? So if you've got a round piece, you can use wire. Piano wire works pretty good. But if you had a flat disc piece, then you can use a piece of Formica. So when you're in the store and you find a sample of Formica, get some. I've got a roll of this. I got to find it because I'm using it fast. And you can imagine a roll of this that would go on a countertop. You could make a bazillion of them. Of course, can I find mine now? No. So
It's in a very safe place.
it's extremely safe. I know exactly where it is. Put it where it was. So you just bring this back up. You can sand this a little bit. I don't. I tend to bring the speed down a little bit. Oh, they say bring it up. You don't need little pipe tricks, but I find it better than jabbing my finger. And all you're trying to do is get the valley started. Building them up. And now you've got a good dark valley to work with. So now the back is essentially finished. This you would, when you got done, you would actually put it in the cold jaw, and you could actually finish the center. When you're taking this off, you could add more beads or whatever you want to do to make the bottom of your bowl look cool. So now you just simply flip it around and do the front. When I turn it down, I try to make it about 1.5 inches, which fits into my jaws. Put my good and tight. Cut over this. We're going to do a turning.
Harold, you might want to tell them to turn off their smoke detector.
Yes, definitely. It does put up the smoke. Not as much as my laser does, by the way. I don't really put the smoke off. I just got a new laser, and that was like, I started burning something. I burnt the little thing there over there, and you cut them out. I turned around and I thought my garage was on fire. Whoa! So this one, you're really just going to straighten up a little bit. And also come around over here. What you need to do over here is, this is only going to be about 3/16 of an inch thick. So I'm going to try and form my outside bead first. All right. Hopefully. Really what I'm trying to do, and I could have, like I said, you don't need to, but You could use a 3/16. And now you've got a 3/16 bead, which is the big bead on the outside, which also matches one of my burners. But I found that that's overkill, 9 times out of 10. That's my 3/16 bead. Okay? So now, what I'm doing is I'm going to come in here, I'm going to take some needle away. I'm going to leave mass in the middle. What you're looking for is an even thickness across here, and that's going to be the thickness that you're going to want the entire way. You can measure it just to see what it is. I like it about a 1/2 inch. Take a line in a minute. And that's about 40. That's about right. About 40 or so is good. Just a little over a 1/2 inch. Because remember, you're going to put a bead on there. All right? And the reason you got to be careful is it's going to make a lovely picture frame. But it's kind of cool. And that's because when I started here, I kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper, like any bowl or any other thing that you're doing, and I didn't pay as good attention to the thickness. I was trying to make it thin and nice, and I got it.
It's a funnel for filling your basket up with grain.
Yes. But like I said, put that back on there, it'll make a nice picture frame, I think. Somebody, everybody likes something. All right, so now once you get to here, this is really like I said, it's like doing a bowl, all right? So if you're doing a thin piece, you don't take the mass in the middle out. You got to leave the mass in the middle in. And if you take everything down, you could do the same thing, but it's going to wobble. And your beads are not going to form very easily, okay? So you want to do the beads in small pieces as they go along. So again, I'm going to come back in here. About 4 inch off. Do what I told you not to do. Get it over. Take it out a little bit more. We do a lot by feel, as you can tell. Here's a way to calculate it. I like the front. Also, when you're out here, just like a bowl, thin bowl, once you get to the edge, finish it, don't touch it again.
How wide are those rings?
Eighth of an inch.
Oh, say again,
Eighth of an inch. This is
ever
a,
do bigger?
huh?
Do you ever do bigger?
I don't. Harvey said use an eighth, so I use an eighth. But you could use anything you want. Now, I've done boxes and bowls where I did a similar technique to this. I made, well, matter of fact, if you were at the Christmas party, I made a bumblebee round box. And that's what I used. I used a larger bead. I did the whole thing in large beads, made bits of box out of it, hid it in one of the seams, and I think Don's got that box. So it's very versatile. So yes, you can use, but for a basket, you're trying to make something small. It's supposed to look like a weave. All right? So I guess you could go smaller. I mean, eighth of an inch is perfect. So now, you want to come back and burn it. So now it's burnt. You're right, Jack, that is the, basically at this point, we've done all the turning we're gonna do. Because you now have the basis for your bowl. And you can see it matches back and front. It's a little heavy, but I didn't want to bust it in half like I did this morning. Yeah, they were good from the ground. All right, so now what we have to do is we have to put rays out here because baskets have wolf and weaves, what they call it. I call them rays. It's the rays that go back out. Okay, so now we're going to make some rays, and we're going to set that rig up. It's not really that complex or that hard to do, but and you don't have to use that rig. I use it because I like to get things away from my stand. All right, and you'll see why in a second. Hopefully it'll work on this one. So,
What chunk is left?
easy wood. I love it.
I've never seen the jaws like that before.
I love it. It is not cheap. I will say the only knock on this is I've done some hollow forms. And it didn't, either I didn't have it squeezed tight enough or it didn't quite squeeze as good as I wanted it to do. But it has handled bigger things and better things. I love it. I've got all the jaws, they pop back in, and I'm lazy because I'll get it wrong and I just put them instead of joking. They sit there and they pop in and pop out. Easy Wood is, they're an awesome company. At least their chucks are. I'm not sure about their scrapers. And I found that on my lathe, I actually had to get a spacer because the robust didn't quite fit that, okay? So I needed a spacer on it, so I had to buy a spacer. They weren't much, but it was just something else I had to do on the robust lathe. I didn't have to do it on the lathe. That kind of locks that in place. Put this on. Take this off. Hopefully that will work. So this is an indexing wheel. Most lathes have an indexing wheel on, and some of them work, some of them don't. My robust works fairly good. It's 48, it's kind of limited. All right. But you have to screw it out and screw it back in, so it's a little cumbersome to use, to say the least. But it worked. I did those pieces that I did there, I did with no indexing wheel. I bought this one when I had to give a demo, and I said, well, you know, I'll bet those lathes don't have it. I knew it wasn't going to be on the robust. So I said, well, it's a good time to buy a tool. There's another one that somebody told me about, and I haven't tried it. It supposedly has more options. This one, if you so this has, if you look at it, there's a 90, a 120, and a 144 ring. And of course, if you divide them up, you can get 60 and some other numbers to go with it. Where a 48, I couldn't do that. So we're going to do like a 60. Pretty easy to adjust. The other thing. That should work. All right. Now I put this back on. Then we put this one. Put it all right. This is a piece of corian that I got off a guy. Little stuff he made canners chops out of. If you find those, it's cool material to work with. You can drill it, tap it. You can cut it and shape it, just like wood. It's only better. These you can pick up right here. This is a Nova stock. I think I paid a couple of bucks for that. I paid $13 for that, and I got that for free. So now I've got a platform. And then this is an action track. You can make a block of wood, stick a pencil in there, you just set this up, lock your piece down. And then you come in with this one, and as long as you're on the course, and now I usually bring this around to 0. Okay? And you're going to make a mark. I go 60, 2 more. And you want to mark this really good, okay? And more, and I'll show you. We'll switch to a different one, okay? So you would continue around 60, you just continue bringing this piece around. That's all you do. Back and front, when you're done, you're going to end up with, this, all right? So it has all the marks on it, so I'm not going to bore you with watching you do the marks. I just wanted to show you how I set that up and how this piece works. So now, once I have that up, and I've got them all marked, I'll take it down. And I'll get it out of the way. Piece I added to my kit last time. I didn't have that one last time. But I couldn't get this off. All right. So now, once we have it to this point, we're going to burn it. And $100. Way cheaper than you'll pay for some of the other ones. But if all you're doing is burning this one, that's all I really need. I think that's all I need to do. All right, so if this gets hot,
What kind of tip is that?
so you can buy this tip. It's actually a basket of illusion tip. This company sells 2 of them, a 3/16 and an 1/8 inch. They sell a bent one, more easier to use. And a straight one. What I try to do is if you put this up in here, you can, instead of marking them off, you can actually burn one side of them by just putting it on the platform and moving it across and save you some time. My back hurt when I did this way, so. And I was too lazy to do them all at one time. So once you get it burnt, this is why you really want a fully formed bead. Because, can you see that? Out there? All right? Yeah.
So that's a little arc. The tip of it is concave.
It is. It's, I would touch it. But,
It's too small, I think, to see.
There you go.
see that? Okay. Yes, it's,
That's your hand? There you go.
okay. I just don't want to burn myself. That would hurt. So, and it's a 1/8 inch piece. They're like $20, $30 or something like that. Now what you want to do is sitting in your chair, in your living room or wherever with something, and you just simply, you want to go down this line. And what I have found is if I go all the way down, I screw it up. If I do it in kind of blocks, like this, okay?
Does your smoke detector go off at home? I mean, just from a practical perspective?
Not really.
Okay.
It's very low smoky. Not a whole lot of smoke here. It's no different than you would if you were, well, now if you want to burn some stuff, there's some stuff that you can burn. It'll probably put your smoke detectors out. If you do
I mean, that's how we know dinner is done, so I don't want to
So, let me put a few in here. Not that we're going to show you the pattern too. And as you can see, this is just really, it's monotonous, but you have to keep that pattern sort of straight. I kind of like it a little bit wonky looking because it's a basket. It's not supposed to be, machine made. So having a little bit of a line, a little waviness, which is easy for me, looks a little better. If you have a bourbon or two, it really gets weavy.
You just go right and left of the mark a little bit.
Yeah, just a tad. When you get down, and the reason I marked these as well as I could, when you get down to here, all right, you have some issues, okay? Because they're so small that you can't see them. So then, you get you one of these. It's worth its weight in gold. Okay. Yeah. So it's worth its weight in gold. Now I can go down and see what I want to do with it. So I love this thing. They were cheap too, 20-some bucks.
Do you ever offset your radial lines so they're not going to the center to make it look also more like a more organic weave?
You can. I haven't personally myself, but I've seen some techniques where that's what they'll do. They'll shift it off just a little bit to make the weave, the pattern look a little better, a little more natural. I'm just too, I got past the first one. I said, I got a line, I got a basket, I got a color, let me go turn a three-pointed bowl or something. So, I haven't done this in a while. So let's go ahead and finish this up. And now you would continue this, I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm going to just do a little small section of it. Now you continue this on both sides, back and front. And then when you end up with that, what you'll end up with there is you'll end up with this. Now this basket. So that's already fully burned, all right? And not very pretty, but it's fully burned, okay? And the other thing that I do is once I get it completely burned, I will come back with this, and I'll put it back up on the lathe, and
What is it?
that's a nylon wheel.
Oh,
You pick them up at Ace Hardware for like $10. They're great for if you burn, or if you've got some bark or stuff that you want to clean up. They make the orange is I think the medium, the blue is harder, but they make 3 of them and they sell a set of them. It's perfect for doing exactly there. What I did right there is, and I did this side, that'll clean the smoke up off. One of the problems with burning is not the actual heat, the smoke of it that comes over, trying to get that back off. The other thing you could do, but the problem with that would be you wash out the burn, is burn marks are removed with vinegar. So you could take a little vinegar, and if you wanted to rub it, you could do that one too. So the problem is if you get it too deep, you're going to take the burnt marks that you just put in. All right. So I found this works the best. Now, once I've got this all cleaned up, and I'm now ready to make my pattern, okay? So we make color. I use, can you flip on the, you're developing a pattern, which is what I did with the PowerPoint, and this is the hardest part for me. And okay, and there's some of the pins. Faber Castell Pitt pins work the best. The ink is steadfast, doesn't penetrate. You really don't want to penetrate very deep. You want the color to lay on the surface, all right? So that if you screw it up, which you will, okay? And this is your eraser. If you screw it up, you get it open. That's a scalpel, number 11. They're very, very sharp. And if you were to mess this up, you can take that scalpel and actually work that across to take the top off. Because the ink doesn't go very deep, you can clean 90% of the ink off of this. All right? So that's my eraser. They're very cheap. You can pick them up on eBay. It's like $10 for 100 blades and like $5 or $6 for the handle. Same thing the surgeon uses when he cuts on you. You can cut on your tools. Just kidding. All right, so the brushes wise, there are two types of brushes, or two types of pen, I should say. And I couldn't find all the other ones, but you have this one here, which is a 5mm type with a metal piece surrounding the edge of it, okay? That serves one function. And then you have a brush, okay? So this is the brush version. It has a B on it. So they always make it two types. Now, what I do is I take my pattern, and I'll take this one because it's dottish, and I'll come back in and I'm going to go, so I'll look at my pattern. So here's my pattern, okay? And I'll sit down now and go, okay, where is my pattern, okay? And then I will transpose this pattern to here, but I will use dots, all right? So I'm one off the edge, so I'll put a dot here, okay? A dot here, dot here, dot here, dot here. And then I'll come around, let's see, so I'm gonna get one space in the middle. It's here. And it'll be there, here, here, okay?
Steph, can you switch our view? There we go.
His head was.
My head, I'm sorry, my head was out. Get it out, sorry.
You would have seen a beautiful view of the top of his.
Yeah, that's all. So you get your dots this way. So you're gonna dot the pattern over here, and you dot it with the same color that you're gonna finish up with. So if I were to come over here, and this is really tedious and hard to do. So that one right.
Try, keep your head back.
There you go. I'm sorry. I'll get there. I'll get there in a minute. Sorry. So that's 4 down. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a dot. And now I can go dot, 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 and dot. Okay? So I put the pattern, dotted the pattern. You dot the whole pattern on there. All right? You don't want to do a piece. You want to do the whole pattern. Because it's much easier to erase that dot than it is one that you've colored in. So I would finish the whole pattern with that. Now once I've got it done, I come back with my brush. And I just simply come in like this. It's a great thing to do in your armchair. And you can see, I'm just doing the tops of it. I'm using it for that. This is a little technique. Now, if it's in between, you can stick it down in there and poke it and get it down there. Okay? But the outer edges, you don't want to do that because you want the sharp, crisp color. So now we come back with this brush or this pen, and we will come back and just do that. And because it has a metal shield, it's not going to hit the other beads in here. Okay? And you just kind of point it up and down.
You're just going into the crack, is that?
I am, what I'm trying, what you can't, I guess you can't see yet. So this one's going down the crack, and because it has a metal piece, I can actually push it against the bead that has no color, and then I can finish the color off.
Okay.
Where this, if you tried that with this brush, it's just a big brush.
Go everywhere.
So I use the big brush to cover the majority of it, and then I'll fine tune it with this one, all right?
Got it.
And it's not really hard, but if you don't have the tube, it's very hard to do without this, I can tell you that. And they don't make it in every color, which is kind of crappy. So there's other companies that make them, but I just like Faber Castell. So then you can see, now you can see how the pattern would go. So I would continue that around until I completed the pattern, okay? So now once I've got that, next slide. Okay, the finish, all right? So once you've had this all done and finished and cleaned up, you let it dry a little bit. I found that I'll let it sit there too, and I might come back and touch up a little bit because the color will either fade or go away or whatever. But when I get done, and I'm happy with my pattern and everything's clean, I'll use a fixative, which is what artists use on ink paint, or their oil paints. What it does is it fixes the color. It doesn't change the color. It simply coats the color and protects it. There are several brands of fixative. I use the Krylon one because it's cheap and I can find it, and it works. If you were going to use a different type of ink, you might want to check and make sure. I would make another test pattern and I would get my finish and spray it over there. Because some finishes will change the color of the wood, some finishes will change the color of the oil or the inks. So you want to make sure you're doing that one. Fixative, like I said, I have never had to change any colors. So, but I know a lot of people like a little more sturdy. And then you're done, and you'll have a beautiful basket of illusion.
Wow. So how many hours do you think that it takes you to do a typical, like a platter like this?
So obviously turning it is nothing. That's an hour or so or less. But I will spend maybe 3 or 4 hours burning it, okay? And then I'll spend another 3 or 4 hours designing the pattern. And then I'll spend another 3 or 4 hours dotting it. And then I'll spend another 8 hours
Coloring it.
coloring it, all right? So it's one of those things you can't start. It's one of those things you do a little bit, you lay it down, and you come back. You know, the next night when you're sitting there talking to your wife and she's in your ear and you go, she's gonna break me.
How long have you been married?
50-some years.
Yeah.
50-some years. No, but it is, I mean, it's something you can do. You can actually talk and do things. But you need to pay attention or you're gonna miss the dot. I can tell you that right now. My wife's talked to me a couple of times when I was doing those and I went, yes, dear. Gotta get this
Bring the scalpel out.
Scalpel out.
Mistakes, right?
Scares her, but I get the scalpel. Yeah, it worked. So yeah, that's, so it is a labor. The vase that I did, this one right here, even though the pattern is simple, it took me a year to figure that pattern out because I'm stupid. After I figured that Photoshop and I started playing with that, I found that I could take Photoshop, which I had, and drop it in and look at it, it became much simpler. But that took me a long, now once I got the pattern down, no problem. And I did black on the inside to make it look good.
Anybody have any questions? Harold? Thank you, Harold.